So normally in January, we review spiritual principles, our practices, but it's March, spring, things are blooming. So the beauty of our seeds that are being made manifest into form is actually the whole realization of our prayer practice, right? And the shift in consciousness from the darkness, was it darkness to liberty? Is that conscious choice to co-create with spirit. Now we know there's a power for good in the universe and we can use it. And that is what is so magnificent about these teachings. There's not an external God who, depending on their mood, is going to either give us or not give us what we need, right? My mother always says, well, she's Italian, so I'll do the Italian accent. Yeah, Veronica, if God willing, next year we'll do this. I'm like, God not willing. God wants to know, are you willing, right? Are you willing to say yes to your life and create the life you want, Mom? She's like, oh, if God's willing. I'm like, stay in the yes, all right? And it's the yes consciousness. Eric Butterworth talks about that, the yes consciousness of us creating our life. The yes consciousness of utilizing spiritual principles. Today, we're going to go, and I'm going to go through the 12 powers. We're going to do the affirmations of the 12 powers, but I just want to talk a little bit about, that consciousness of yes, that awareness that I can choose a new life by my thoughts and actions. I can plant that seed so that my garden of good is blooming. Because I can plant a tulip seed and I'm not going to get a daffodil. I love daffodils too. It's that consciously choosing our awareness in every moment, that which we seek to experience and express in life. That awareness, that spirit, God, whatever way you experience the divine. Eric Butterworth calls it allness. Because sometimes that 3-letter word God comes with some baggage from our past, right? Mean, angry. I remember as a kid, I was always just terrified, so I'd go talk to Mother Mary instead. It's like, Mama, talk to me. But it's true that sometimes that the belief systems of the past are still so underneath our subconscious that we forget that we can actually transform in the moment. And that transformation may take time. It takes time for the seed to germinate and bloom. It has its process. But we understand that this creative law of life, that I can actually utilize it moment by moment, breath by breath. So Louise Hay says, how you start your day is how you live your day. How you live your day is how you live your life. And the question becomes, how do you start your day? Does your day begin in prayer and gratitude? Well, after the coffee. Or you can start with gratitude, because I do a prayer of gratitude before my feet hit the ground, but then I have to have the coffee. But it's anchoring my day from the minute my eyes are open in that awareness that there's a presence, the presence that I call God, and the gratitude of being alive, and the gratitude and realization that I can use these principles moment by moment, breath by breath, to live the life that I'm here to experience and express, because it's not about me, Veronica, the ego. It's about God, the presence that's infinite, having an experience in through and as my life, and each one of you individually. Because if you go to look at the garden at the Arboretum, the tulips aren't trying to out-beauty each other, right? They're just perfectly beautiful as they are. So in your life, are you directing your life in conscious awareness? Or are you driven by race consciousness? What's on the news? The way your knees feel in the morning as we get older? Or are you allowing yourself to turn to that space, that place within that is far greater than the limitations of my human experience, but is seeking to express as my beingness? So when we talk about gaining mastery, we're talking about moving our consciousness in a way that Jesus did, who said prayer without ceasing is being in the consciousness of the oneness of life that's seeking to express as our life. So trained thought and disciplined thought is how we reclaim our perception as spiritual beings. We are spiritual beings having this human experience. And the human experience can be fabulous, even with all the intricacies. But the awareness is, I'm a spiritual being, the I am that I am, seeking to express as my life. And so we make this commitment to spiritual practice so that we may move from that consciousness and that mastery of directed thought, so that I'm living from the place of my highest truth and not the lowest common denominator that we see out in the world. Ernest Holmes, the founder of my movement, says that thought is energy in motion, and that when it moves outward, it clothes itself in form. Every experience you have ever had was a thought. And as your thought moves inward and touches the God self within, the infinite wisdom and love, you find greater possibilities, larger ideas, and a transcendent wholeness and well-being. Very different than the way I grew up thinking, right? And then Charles Fillmore says in Dynamics of Living, because we're talking about prayer, the co-creative process is utilizing spiritual principle, and the prayer is not the begging and the beseeching, is the directing into the law. It's the planting the seeds of the life that I truly choose to live. And he says instead of supplication, prayer should be a jubilant thanksgiving. In this method of prayer quickens the mind miraculously. And like a mighty magnet, it draws out the spiritual qualities that transform the whole man, human, when they are given expression in mind, bodies, and affair. All right? So we are training and directing thought. But the first place that we move into is that understanding of the triune nature of God, right? Spirit, soul, and body. The macro, the infinite one. Now, I'm not the infinite one, but the infinite one is expressing as me. So all that is true about the macro is actually true about the micro, which is your body. We are a projection of the God essence, and we are endowed with that triune nature. So it's always the perception of wholeness, despite the appearance of condition. Despite the appearance, I am perfect, whole, and complete. I loved the new member class. I was in it for about 45 minutes, and Dr. Nancy Little was showing the history of unity, and I love that. And then the story of, Myrtle Fillmore and how she healed herself, how she was able to give, I can't remember who it was, if y'all remember the class, that she no longer was cooking, she was staying in prayer. She was staying in that consciousness of healing and wholeness despite the experience she was having of the tuberculosis, the condition. She didn't give power to the condition. She gave power to the knowingness that she did not inherit disease, that she is perfect, whole, and complete as a spiritual being having this human experience. So what we begin to understand is that this thing called God, this universal intelligence, it responds to this consciousness. And that's why we got to get really clear. Am I complaining? Guilty of it. Not perfect, not walking on water. Am I comparing? Condition, or I'm in that consciousness of oneness, in that consciousness of wholeness, in that consciousness of love, in that consciousness of joy, in that consciousness of truth. And I come back to it time and time again. I share with my mindfulness students, I go, you can be distracted. I go, but the minute you're aware that you're distracted, that's a mindful moment. So you can be complaining and comparing and all that. And then the minute you realize, whoa, I'm in condition and not in the consciousness of wholeness, not in the yes of God, then that's okay. Don't judge yourself. Bring it to the moment, into the heart of that which you seek to experience in your life. So I love both, with unity and, because I'm Centers for Spiritual Living, our process of prayer is the cultivation of consciousness. These, what we may call formulas, are just ways that we get in alignment for allowing that which is seeking to reveal itself as my life to reveal. So I'm going to briefly just share the 5 phases of prayer of unity, and very, very briefly of the way that I pray, but it's the same. The essence is the same. So with unity, is that first step is that relaxation, where you're going to release physical and mental tension. So you want to relax into this moment. You want to be present. You want to drop into your heart. You want to become so centered in the awareness of the divine nature of God, and you want to listen, not from the ego, but from that higher consciousness. Then the concentration part is a gentle focusing of the mind. And so you're recognizing a particular aspect of the divine nature, which we're going to go through in just a little bit, and the 12 powers, which I love. And then describing the divine nature and your divine identity, and that is key. There's not something out there, it's all here. And then the meditation, which is the contact with the silence. And then you're reflecting on the divine capacity within yourself, or if you're praying for someone. The realization is that deep inner knowing of truth, and that the prayers are answered. which is why we say we're living in answered prayer. And so you're just knowing the divine nature, the divine identity of who you are, and you're knowing the demonstration of that divine capacity and appreciation, gratitude, that yes consciousness, that thank you, that you're grateful because you know the universe is rearranging some molecules so that that answer is here in your life. And that's the place that sometimes we get impatient. With Centers for Spiritual Living, it's the same process, but it's just recognition, recognizing the oneness and allness of God, that divine nature, that divine quality I'm seeking to experience. Unification, which is that divine identity. I know that my life is that life of God. I know and I speak my word, whoever, that their life is the life of God. And then the realization is that part that we share together where it's like that divine knowingness that what I'm seeking to experience is the spiritual truth and spiritual realization of this moment. It's not about attracting things. It's about the shifting consciousness that will demonstrate in the conditions of our life. And then it's thanksgiving. Once again, got to be grateful. It's already here in the mind of God. What did Jesus do? He thanked the Father before. He knew it was already so. And thank you. Thank you. It's already so. It's here. And then we release it into the universal law. It's that planting of the seed. So that we understand that this process of prayer, when you begin your day with prayer and you live your day with prayer, it's not a supplication. It's allowing. It's aligning. It's being. It's becoming. And the becoming part is that I'm inviting this new experience and expression. But in the mind of God, it's already so. All those potentialities are already there. I'm simply planting the seed. I'm directing that universal law. And so what I thought we would do today is just because there's 12 and we can't go deep enough, so it'll be fast, but is to take these 12 powers, which I've loved exploring this. So thank you for giving me all this information, Sandra. And the affirmation that goes with it. And then here's the invitation. So we're going to do each one. We won't have that much time to really contemplate. But this week, pick one and the affirmation. Pick one that resonates like, I have this deeper need for, wisdom in my life. I have this deeper need for love in my life. And just let yourself walk with it in contemplation. Allow yourself to see this into the universal law. And then literally in gratitude for how it demonstrates, because we leave the how up to that which we call God, that which is greater. And remember, it's not like an ATM or like those candy dispensers, but it's like, let the how. The universe is rearranging the molecules. I just got to trust that in the mind of God, it is already so. Because have you ever put in a prayer and forgot about it? And then suddenly the demonstration, maybe a couple weeks later, a couple months later, you go back to a journal, you're like, oh, I forgot I wrote that. Well, yeah, the universe was rearranging some molecules. Just like here, you're co-creating this space for this new minister, which I kind of have an idea who it is, but I won't say. But I can't do that because the how's up to God. I can't limit myself with what I want. But it's like Spirit knows, but you're co-creating this process of planting the seed of that which is seeking to experience itself as Unity on Greenville, as your unity minister. We know that as we plant the seed, Spirit always provides. Always provides. So we're going to go through the 12 just very briefly. I just invite you to get into just a very relaxed position. And let's take a deep breath together. And just anchoring into the awareness of the presence, I just invite you just to drop into your heart with every breath. And I'm just going to name the power and then say the affirmation. And you can repeat that affirmation within your heart. Just allowing yourself just to be bathed in this. And so for the first power is love. And the affirmation is, I'm one with everyone and everything. Love. I'm one with everyone and everything. And just breathe into that love. Imagination. I visualize the highest and best. Imagination. I visualize the highest and best. Power. I'm a master of my thoughts, feelings, and actions. Power. I'm a master of my thoughts, feelings, and actions. Wisdom. I know the way to go. Wisdom. I know the way to go. Understanding. I see the truth. Understanding. I see the truth. Zeal, enthusiasm. I'm passionate about my purpose. Zeal, enthusiasm. I am passionate about my purpose. Elimination. I release and let go of only human perspective. Elimination. I release and let go of only human perspective. Faith. I believe, therefore I see. Faith. I believe, therefore I see. Life. I'm ever-flowing, unending, divine life. Life. I'm ever-flowing, unending, divine life. Order. I'm divine order, establishing perfect timing and orderly action. Order. I'm divine order, establishing perfect timing and orderly action. Will. I am willing. Will. I am willing. Strength. I am courageous, confident, stable, and centered. Strength. I'm courageous, confident, stable, and centered. Take a deep breath in. Notice if anyone popped up for you. When you're ready, open your eyes. It's there. It's right there. It is always here. Spirit is always available. 12 powers. I don't know about you, but felt like Wonder Woman with those affirmations. Like, yes, right? 12 powers. I got the power. When someone's like, what's your power? My power is will. You know, you've got these affirmations. You've got the power to co-create your life in the direction that you desire and intend. Raise your hand if you've utilized prayer or have had people pray for you and your life has changed. All of us. Awesome. Day by day, in every way, you can align in consciousness to co-create the life you want. And as a community, co-create the sacred space and the community that you want. And as the world, we co-create together in consciousness. If we can only remember in those human moments to pause into our hearts, drop into that awareness of the oneness of God, align in the truth that my life is the life of the one seeking to express itself, and then allow ourselves just to focus on the powers, the way Spirit seeks to express as our life. And then it'll demonstrate in the conditions, in the beautiful gardens, in the beautiful clothes, in the relationships, in the job, and even in the car that you want, This is how we co-create our life consciously, that we're not running by default, that we're not allowing those false beliefs of our childhood or the past or the race consciousness to direct our lives, that even if we're standing alone in this truth, we stand in the light of God, and then we become the lighthouse, right? So your invitation this week is to go through and pick at least one of these 12 powers and really walk with it. Walk with it. The divine qualities of love and joy and wisdom and abundance and harmony and peace. Walk with it. Be it. Allow it. And then just notice the transformation that happens. And remember, when we begin to empower ourselves with these spiritual principles, then we take it to the world. Because it's not just about our life, moving and grooving and feeling fabulous. It's about then taking it out in service to the world and seeing that in everyone else. So that's your invitation. Co-create your life in consciousness. Drop into that place of yes, that gratitude of knowing that the present moment is the only moment. The present is always available now, only now, because there is only the eternal now. That the past was the stepping stone to this present moment, but I can change the direction with one breath, one thought, one action, and then it leads to the next path. So I just invite you this week just to take that into your heart, allow it to be the truth of your beingness, to know, and there's just one more quote here that I got off of Facebook, that Amy Steinberg, the singer-songwriter, it's actually Lorelei Robbins is of Unity, and it says, everything you're going through is preparing you for everything you ask for. So you ask for it, be ready to get it, all right? So I invite you to go within. Let's just pray into this awareness of the presence of God that is already so. These 12 powers, these divine powers that it's just the way that the presence shows up as life, all of life, my life, every life here, every life online, every life available. And so let's breathe in gratitude for this awareness of the indwelling presence that is God. Breathe in with gratitude for this understanding of the 12 powers and the utilization consciously to co-create my life with that which is greater. And so what I know and affirm, declare that the clarity of one mind that is my mind is the mind of each person here, that the power and the presence that is God is available and expressing in, through, and as each person here, that every seed that is planted and will be watered and attended to and bloom beautifully is a way that God gets to experience and express itself. And to know that in each moment that that power of good that is within can be used consciously. So I stand here on sacred ground in celebration of all that not only has been revealed, but all that's revealing itself in every moment. That every single seed, which is a seed of an idea of the mind of God, individualized as each person here, is absolutely necessary, blooming in this world. So I breathe into this space with great gratitude, breathing into the space for all the teachers who brought us this truth, but all the truth that is within. And just to see each person going about their day, loving life, living life, meeting those difficult moments with this absolute consciousness of yes to the good, yes to the truth, yes to God, yes to life. Let us take a breath. Feel it. It is the feeling tone. It is the beingness of it that is revealing in this moment. So as I know that it is so, I just know that in the mind of God, the activity of the aspect of God, that universal law, that it is already activated, ignited, expressing. And so beautifully so, I give thanks. I give thanks for this truth. I give thanks for the revelation, and I give thanks for the demonstration. And knowing that it is good because it is God, another deep breath in. As we let go, we let God, and we let it be. Let's affirm it together by saying, and so it is.